At my family's Christmas dinner, my golden child brother found out I was worth $28 million and completely lost it. But my father's silence told me the real betrayal was bigger than money. I always knew my brother Tyler was the favorite. Nobody in my family even tried to hide it. When we were kids, Tyler got a new truck for his 16th birthday. I got my grandfather's old toolbox because Dad said I needed to learn the value of work. When Tyler dropped out of college twice, my parents paid off his loans without asking questions. When I started a small cybersecurity company from my apartment, Dad laughed and told me to get a real job before I wasted my life. Eventually, I stopped trying to impress them. I moved 3 states away, worked ridiculous hours, and built the company with 2 friends. We kept our heads down, hired good people, and slowly grew into one of the biggest firms in our niche. 3 years ago, we sold most of the company to a larger corporation. After taxes, my share came out to just under $28 million. Only my wife, Jessica, knew. I still drove my old pickup, lived in the same neighborhood, and never talked about money. Every Christmas, my parents insisted everyone come home, so Jessica and I flew in. The house looked exactly the same. Mom was rushing around the kitchen. Dad sat in his recliner pretending football was more interesting than family. Tyler was outside showing everyone his newest SUV, even though he'd complained for months about being broke. The moment I walked through the door, he smirked. So, still fixing computers? Something like that? I guess somebody has to fix Grandma's printer. A few people laughed. Jessica didn't. Dinner started quietly until Tyler brought up Dad's retirement. Dad deserves to enjoy life, he said. Bills keep piling up. Mom nodded. Tyler helps us every chance he gets. Then Tyler looked directly at me. It'd be nice if everyone contributed instead of disappearing. I visit when I can. Visiting doesn't pay bills. Mom cleared her throat. We actually wanted to ask you something. I already knew where this was heading. Tyler smiled. I found an investment property. If everyone helps with the down payment, it'll benefit the whole family. How much? $600,000. I nearly laughed. You still owe Mom and Dad money. That's different. How? They're family. Dad stayed completely silent. Tyler leaned back. Besides, you probably couldn't help anyway. Jessica quietly said, we're doing just fine. Tyler pulled out his phone. I looked up David's company before dinner. My stomach tightened. It says the company was acquired. Mom frowned. What does that mean? Tyler kept scrolling. His smile disappeared. He refreshed the page twice, found an article about the sale, then slowly looked at me. How much did you make? Enough. No. Tell me. I took a sip of water. A little under $28 million. Mom dropped her fork. Tyler laughed because he thought I was joking. Then he opened another article, read the acquisition numbers, and started tapping numbers into his calculator. His face turned white. You've had that kind of money for 3 years? Yes. And you never helped Mom and Dad? I looked him in the eye. I offered. The room became completely silent. I offered to pay for Dad's knee replacement. Nobody spoke. I offered to replace the leaking roof. Mom slowly turned toward Dad. I even offered to buy them a smaller retirement house. Jessica nodded. They turned down every offer. Mom looked confused. Frank, is that true? Dad rubbed his hands together for several seconds. Finally, he answered, yes. Why? He didn't answer immediately. Then he quietly said, because Tyler asked me not to accept anything. Tyler immediately interrupted. Dad kept talking. He said if David started paying for things, we'd become dependent on him. Mom stared at Tyler. Dad lowered his head. He also told me not to tell anyone David had offered. Nobody moved. Tyler tried to defend himself. I was protecting this family. I shook my head. No, you were protecting your position. For the first time in my life, Dad looked embarrassed. Mom pushed her chair back. You've spent years telling me David never cared. Tyler had nothing to say. Then he looked at me. You have $28 million. So? You can still fix all this. I already tried. I reached into my coat and placed a folder on the dining table. Dad opened it. Inside were the signed papers transferring Grandpa's cabin completely into my name. 2 weeks earlier, Dad had quietly sold me his half so he could finally retire without taking another loan. Tyler grabbed the documents. You sold Grandpa's cabin? Dad nodded once. We needed the money. Tyler's voice cracked. That cabin was supposed to be mine. Dad looked directly at him. It was never yours. Nobody said another word. Jessica and I put on our coats. Mom hugged us at the front door with tears in her eyes. Dad stayed in the dining room, staring at the empty chair beside him. Tyler never followed us outside. He remained frozen at the table, surrounded by paperwork proving something he'd never imagined. For years, he believed being the favorite guaranteed him everything. That Christmas, he learned it guaranteed him nothing at all.